I'm Dave Jensch. Michelle Lee has the night off. Next on your 6 o'clock news, an I-Team 6 report on doctors and sexual assaults of patients. A local girl was honored for her ideas on how to tackle the nationwide problem of school violence. And their viewpoints may differ, but several Minnesota governor's candidates have a common bond. We'll explain next on the Channel 6 o'clock news.
Live from Channel 6, you're watching the #1 news at 6 o'clock with Michelle Lee, Dave Jensch, Tom Hansen, and meteorologist George Kessler. Now the Channel 6 o'clock news.
Good evening. An ESCO family practice doctor who was stripped of his medical license has pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault in Carlton County Court. The Minnesota Board of Medical Practice filed an order charging Dr. Edwin Snyder with multiple violations. The violations include dating his patients and treating one of them for gonorrhea, having intercourse with another patient while on call at the Cloquet Hospital, and removing drugs from hospitals and clinics where he worked in Duluth, Superior, and Cloquet. The order also charges him with showing up at the hospital with alcohol on his breath and with physical assault of his ex-wife. Dr. Snyder was scheduled for trial this week on the assault charge, but was allowed to plead guilty to the lesser charge of misdemeanor disorderly conduct. Sentencing is on July 31st. Meanwhile, the American Medical Association today released the results of a study on doctors and sexual assaults of patients. I-Team 6 reporter Barbara Reyelts joins us now with details of the study. Barbara?
Well, Dave, a 15-year study printed in today's Journal of the American Medical Association shows that a significant number of doctors found to be sexually assaulting their patients get their medical licenses back after just short-term suspensions. Punishment for doctors are doled out by state medical boards, and consumer watchdog groups feel it should be a lot harsher. The study also found an abnormally high number of the doctors who abused their patients practiced psychiatry, obstetrics, gynecology, and family medicine. Now, the study points out that doctors in these fields would tend to know more about their female patients, making them easier targets for assaults and unwanted advances.
Barbara, does the report give us any idea how prevalent these abuses or these cases are?
Well, David, the American Medical Association points out that less than 1% of all doctors in the United States have disciplinary action taken, but they say even that 1% is too many doctors.
Do we know what will happen with the ESCO doctor?
Well, the Minnesota Medical Board has ordered Dr. Edwin Snyder to undergo counseling, and upon successful completion of that counseling, he will get his license to practice medicine back.
Interesting story. Thanks, Barbara. Well, now we have another follow-up to an earlier I-Team 6 report this year on methamphetamines. Duluth police say a bust this week is evidence that the manufacture and sale of the drug known on the streets as crank is a growing problem in small communities. Agents made the biggest methamphetamine bust in Duluth history Tuesday, seizing $20,000 worth of the drug. A man is behind bars on charges of drug possession and intent to sell a controlled substance. The brother of a Pine County man convicted of murder has made an unusual request for public input at a sentencing hearing tomorrow. Pat Padden of Minneapolis says he hopes an ad placed in an advertising circular will encourage public testimony in Pine County Court for the sentencing of his brother Gregory Padden. Padden is convicted in the shooting death of Randy Fett after an argument on October 24th, 1997 in Sturgeon Lake. The ad asks anyone who was, quote, victimized by Randy Fett to speak out and ask the judge for leniency in sentencing the man who killed him. Padden could face 15 years in prison. As the Minnesota governor's race moves ahead, many politicians are using their family history to try to bring in votes. We'll have that story in a little while. Adam May talked to a number of the candidates for governor in Duluth today. We'll have that story shortly. First, you may have a new swimming place to go in Duluth. 2001 Beyond is proposing a multi-million-dollar aquatic center along Duluth's bayfront. Architects will present the project to the city council in the coming weeks. The structure would have a 50-meter Olympic swimming pool, a slide and recreational area for kids, a sauna for seniors, and a speed skating rink.
Our existing pools in Duluth, they're very inadequate. They barely serve the needs of the schools, and most of them are located within the schools. So we needed a place where people could go to recreate that was readily accessible to all populations from old to young in Duluth.
If approved, construction on the Aquatic Center will start next spring. Well, what can you do to protect your child at school? And what can your child do? Following a national spree of school shootings, educators are turning to students for the answers. Maureen Talarico reports one Cotton girl is part of the solution to make schools more safe.
Scenes like this schoolyard in Pearl, Mississippi have become frighteningly familiar this past year, as violence in schools makes the national headlines time and time again. Even in the Northland, a Duluth student brings a gun to school at East High School. A Superior teen is suspended for concealing 2 knives. Now educators are tightening security in local schools. The Duluth School Board just voted Tuesday night for stricter policies, and educators are looking for more answers, and they're looking to students. Amanda Williams, a 9th grader in Cotton, may hold some of the answers. Her essay on school violence impressed educators and police officers enough that she won a state award.
That you should just, like peer helpers and like stuff with kids and like metal detectors and all that, because those really help. But if you have to use them, you know, like you can't just have them and just have them sit there and not do anything.
Amanda says students need to be involved in violence prevention. Her teacher agrees, saying it takes the whole community to keep kids safe.
The community is very much supportive of the school, of the teachers, and it's just a great place to teach. There's very little violence. Kids keep duffel bags in the hallway. I keep my keys in the ignition of the car in the parking lot. We just don't, we're just really a close, small school, and everyone gets along well, students, teachers.
Community involvement, tighter security, peer helpers. Will it work?
I think it's done some tremendous things to curb some of the hostilities that kids have towards each other, and let that ferment and let it get greater and greater, and then you get all the other issues that you can imagine.
As police and school leaders sharpen school security, the message from Amanda's essay is simple and effective. School and violence don't sound good together. School and peace do. In Duluth, Maureen Talarico, Channel 6 News.
Amanda received a certificate and check for $300 for her essay. She plans to bank $200 and spend the rest. Amanda also wants to continue writing in the future. Well, coming up, soaking up the rays. The sunshine's nice, but at what point does it get harmful? Meteorologist Keith Marler will have some advice you can take to the beach with you this summer. And meteorologist George Kessler is out at Canal Park with an eye on the weather. George.
David, the sun's actually come out here. It hasn't been out for most of the day. A few clouds across the region. Unfortunately, the trend is toward more cloudiness and less sunshine. Complete details and a sneak peek at the Grandma's Marathon forecast when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
George's Garden is built and maintained by the London Road Garden Center. For more information, log on to our website at www.kbjr.com.
Like an old friend, the Duluth Bethel has been helping people put their lives back together for 125 years. Since the beginning, the Duluth Bethel has been providing wholesome alternatives and caring for people in our community whose lives are in transition. The Duluth Bethel provides chemical dependency treatment and other programs that help people find their way back through the dignity and discipline of work. The Duluth Bethel, helping put lives back together.
These are just a few of the 13,000 cardiac procedures we do each year, using the latest technologies performed by the area's most comprehensive cardiac team. SMDC Regional Heart Center. There is a difference.
At Easy Housing of Duluth, owning a new home is no longer a dream. Right now, a 16 by 80, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home is yours for only $254 a month and includes vinyl siding, vinyl windows, shingled roof, name brand appliances, and more. At Easy Housing of Duluth, we make it easy to own a new home.
We make it easy. We make it easy.
Easy Housing of Duluth, 729-8001. Come see us.
If it seems like a spur station pops up wherever you turn, you're right. But Spur is even closer to home than you think. Spur stations are locally owned, and quality Spur gasoline is produced with pride by your Northland neighbors at the Murphy Oil Refinery in Superior. Keep it close to home. Make your everyday stop at Spur and support your Northland neighbors.
It's what to do when you finish a good book. Recycle. When you receive your new U.S. West Dex phone book, don't throw the old one away. Recycle it at Jubilee Foods in Duluth and Superior through July 10th. U.S. West Dex, AM 610 KDAL and KBJR Channel 6 urge you to join us in this environmental effort that turns old phone books into new phone books. So don't throw your old one away. Recycle. It's what to do when you finish a good book.
Meteorologist George Kessler's forecast can be heard weekday afternoons on KKCB B105 FM and WEBC 560 AM.
I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that marathons are informal affairs because ties don't work close to this lake. That thing's been driving me crazy for over an hour now. I'll tell you what, the lake breeze is going to be a welcome thing for anybody who's going to be out there running 26.2 miles or however far it is, and I think it's going to stay with us through Saturday morning. The only problem may be some drizzle, so you have a little high humidity, might make it a little uncomfortable for the runners. We'll have more on that in a little bit. First, let's take care of some business from today. High up to 74 degrees. I'll tell you, those 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, when you start to see that contrast between those two air masses, all of a sudden that's when you begin to see storm systems beginning to develop. The almanac, again, high 74, low last night, 52 degrees, just about perfect. We're within just a few of normal records of 93 and 35. Current temperature, well, I'll tell you what, up into the 70s, very nice, 72 degrees. But again, east wind at 13, it's probably closer to 62 down here in Canal Park. Pressure is 29.97. Humidity, not shabby, 59%. That's going to be increasing, especially tomorrow as the storm system pulls on into the region. Let's take a look at some numbers across the area. The weather watcher is reporting in 73 up in Hoveland, Joseph and Mary Ruth, 77 degrees Port Wing for Gwen Levesque, also 77 for my old buddy Walt Johnson out and right. Going up to the north, though, 78 in Angora, 66 degrees for Hibbing, and 73 for Ruth O'Brien over in Herbster, 80 down in Gordon. Those are some warm numbers, folks. And I'll tell you, we are not going to lose a lot of the heat, and that's going to be converted instead into storm energy. Speaking of storms, let's put it into motion across the entire country. 40s and 50s, the Intermountain West has been seeing snow, the Tetons, the Uinta Mountains, up into the Wasatch. And we're not talking about a little snow either. We're talking 6, 7, 8 inches of heavy, wet snow. For those of you who are really inclined to ski, you can just walk to the top of the ski areas and go bananas. But on the other side of the storm system, you see the 70s and the 80s beginning to move on to the north. Put the clouds into motion, there they go. The contrast between those two particular air masses is what's driving this Mondo storm. Oh, here, how about this? Let's get rid of the clouds. We'll talk directly about the radar. Two things I want to show you. First, the massive precipitation off to our west. And if we can take a look at there we go. That is a lot of snow, really, in the higher levels of the mountains, which always amuses me. I think it probably sickens almost everyone else. Up across the Dakotas, that is rain. That you look down to the south, across parts of Kansas and Missouri, that rain is just the beginning part of what we're going to be seeing tomorrow. It's just forming, but sure enough, it will be here. The regional radar in motion, that first batch just exploded when it hit our part of the world. Just look at thins out, completely goes away. We had the clouds, we just had the leftover storminess, but hot on its heels, we will be seeing the other storm moving in tomorrow. Put some forecast maps into motion. We'll tell you what we know. For tonight, on into Thursday, that storm is going to take the gradual approach. At this time of the year, we don't have really powerful jet stream winds to encourage it to move quickly. By the time it gets here, the winds will be strong. Have a ship coming through. I really like it down here. Thursday into Friday, the storm is going to linger. The winds off the lake will certainly keep it cool in the Twin Ports. Let's take a quick look at the overnight forecast, why don't we? Temperatures in the 50s for lows, 50, 55, 57 degrees. Mild and cloudy. I think the showers will hold off until tomorrow. Speaking of which, there's the forecast. Highs in the 70s away from the lake. We're going to call it 68 in the Twin Ports, but certainly downtown areas might be a little cooler than that. And the fast forward look to Friday and Saturday, well, lingering showers are a possibility. We're going to have to keep our eyes on that. Highs in the middle 60s. Quick look at the 5-day forecast. We lose the showers once Saturday afternoon gets here. Temperatures will be mild and muggy, but hopefully after the race is completed. So, David, that's how things look here. The temps are going up, and there's a festive feeling in the air.
Thanks, George. Well, as he said, the summer sun's upon us, but remember, even the sun has a dark side, and it's not always a deep tan. Meteorologist Keith Marler brings us a reminder about UV radiation and helpful forecasting tool to avoid its risks.
We all know ultraviolet or UV radiation from the sun can cause a sunburn or skin damage and is associated with various types of skin cancer. But many don't recognize a sunburn for what it really is, a low-energy radiation burn.
It's a lower energy source, so it takes a little longer than a scald or a flame burn, but it is cumulative. The longer you're exposed, the more damage it produces, and it also can be cumulative over a lifetime.
Ultraviolet intensity can vary from day to day. A particularly strong UV radiation day can cause severe sunburn, as well as other bodily reactions to those unprotected.
The person can go through a lot of the same body fluid and electrolyte changes that you would if you were caught your clothing on fire or caught in an explosion.
The UV index is simply a forecasted rating from 0 to 10 of the risk of overexposure to the sun and how quickly unprotected skin can be damaged. A minimal index of 0 to 2 allows sun exposure of more than an hour before skin damage begins. A very high index level of 10 or greater indicates skin damage will occur in less than 10 minutes in the sun.
It's important to remember that UV radiation can pass fairly easily through clouds and haze. That's why the UV index serves as a very good reminder that even if we can't see it, the sun can still cause significant skin damage. From somewhere out in the sun, this is meteorologist Keith Marler for Channel 6 Weather.
The UV index forecast as well as appropriate precautions are made available daily on News 6 Sunrise. Well, as the Minnesota governor's race moves ahead, many politicians are using their family history to try to bring in votes. Adam May reports 3 of this year's Democratic candidates are second-generation politicians.
The deck is full of politicians hoping to win the governor's race at this year's League of Minnesota Cities convention. There are many familiar faces in the crowd, but this year the names may be the most familiar of all.
This may come as some shock to you, but when we grew up, politics came up at the dinner table.
Ted Mondale is one of 3 Democratic gubernatorial candidates that have family trees full of politicians. Ted says his father, former Democratic presidential candidate Walter Mondale, gives him a lot of political advice.
He understands and has instilled in us that, you need to do what's right. It's the people's choice on who they're going to pick.
Ted says he's not worried about filling his father's shoes.
Actually, he wears about a 9.5, and I'm about an 11.
DFL-endorsed candidate Mike Freeman says his father also stays actively involved in politics. Freeman says his father and former Minnesota Governor Orville is very influential in his life. He remembers campaigning and traveling at a very young age. And like his dad, Mike Freeman is interested in job creation.
What we need to do is to figure out ways to help move high-wage-paying, high-tech jobs back into Duluth that should be here.
But do these big names make a difference? It's hard to avoid the name Humphrey. The former senator and vice president of the United States has left his mark on Minnesota. From the Metrodome to the airport, the name is everywhere. Skip Humphrey says he thinks the name recognition might help him out, but he says there's more to winning the race.
I would hope that the way people will measure me and other candidates is not on a name, but on the quality of work.
The so-called My 3 Sons say they're friends, but they're getting more competitive as the race moves along. And in the end, only one can be the winner. In Duluth, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
Stay tuned for the primary September 15th. Well, big hockey, Detroit Red Wings, it was their second try.
Well, did they do it? You'll have to wait and find out, but they would have to do it on the road if they were going to. I'll have all the highlights for you coming up in sports.
Call the Channel 6 Weather Center forecast hotline at 727-0000. Brought to you by Channel 6.
Who's gonna be there for you? Who's gonna help you find it? Who's gonna be the one you turn to when you're in doubt? It's to you I turn to when I need to learn to where to go in my hometown. Where to go in my home, I turn to you.
Short
Need cash for your summer vacation? Here's a way for you to get vacation cash of $1,500 to $3,000, and you can drive away in a new 98 Chevy S10 pickup or Geo Tracker 4x4 from Egerbrecht Chevrolet. Lease a new 98 Chevy S10 pickup for just $175 a month or a Geo Tracker for just $258 a month for 60 months. But you must hurry. This is a limited time offer. For the best selection, service, prices, and payments, it's Egerbrecht Chevrolet.
We'll save you more every day at the dealership you can trust, Egerbrecht Chevrolet, where you, the customer, are always number one.
You're watching the Channel 6 6 o'clock news, Greater Minnesota's best newscast for an unprecedented fourth year in a row. Closed captioning provided by Schneiderman's.
Dodge Caravan has always come with extra bonuses. And now Caravan comes with a few more, like low 1.9 financing, or choose $750 cash back. Plus, select customers get a Dodge owner's bonus for an additional $1,000 cash back, which means you could own America's best-selling minivan for as little as $16,370. Now that's a bonus you can bank on, but only for a limited time. Go with Infinity in the new Caravan and at home.
I've always been pretty good in math, so I started going to this accelerated program at Sylvan, and now I'm like this total math whiz. My friends look at me like, what's up? It's kind of cool.
At Sylvan Learning Center, we help students succeed by assessing skills and personalizing programs so they can catch up or get ahead.
Call 723-1551 or visit us in the Village Mall. Call today.
We're thrill ride operators here at Valley Fair. Every morning it's our job to get these rides up and running. Of course, you have to ride them to get them warmed up. Beats working. But we're doing it for the kids.
Call 1-800-950-0300 for your free Minnesota and Valley Fair brochures.
Last night in Washington, the Detroit Red Wings were going for their second straight sweep in the Stanley Cup Finals. Things got off to a good start for the Wings as Doug Brown scored on a power play in the first period. Martin LaPointe added a score early in the second, but Washington wouldn't give up without a fight. Brian Bellows countered with a Caps goal in the second to make it 2-1 Detroit. But Larry Murphy came right back for the Wings as they took a 2-goal lead. The Wings went on to win 4-1. Steve Yzerman was awarded the Conn Smythe Trophy after the game as MVP of the finals and says that winning this cup is just as satisfying as the last.
You say to yourself that, if you never win again, you just be happy. And then as soon as the playoffs come around this year, you could just tell every guy wanted to win every bit as much as before. And you don't lose any desire to win after winning it once. We got a taste.
The win gave Red Wings coach Scotty Bowman his record-tying 8th championship. Well, professional hockey is returning to Minnesota very soon, and today the state's new team unveiled a look at its new home. The Minnesota Wild revealed plans for the team's arena of more than 18,000 seats. It'll be built on the former site of the St. Paul Civic Center Arena. The stadium will have 5 levels and open concourses, which allow clear sight lines onto the ice. Groundbreaking for the $130 million arena is planned for next Tuesday. The Wild began NHL play in the 2000-2001 season. In Northern League action Tuesday, the Dukes traveled to Fargo. Duluth Superior lost a 3-game set to the Red Hawks last week, and unfortunately that trend continued last night. The Dukes gave up 7 runs in the 7th inning and were beaten 10-2. One bright spot was the hitting of Ozzie Canseco. He hit his 6th home run of the year. That's second best in the league. The teams meet again tonight. Last night in the majors, the Twins were in Detroit. Ron Coomer hit a 3-run homer, his 11th of the year, as the Twins rallied and won 8-5. Dan Serafini came in, giving up a homer and hitting a batter while pitching just 2 2/3, but walked out with the win for Minnesota. The Brewers were in Chicago today to take on the Cubs. Milwaukee broke open a tie game in the 7th, taking a 6-3 lead and held on for a 6-5 win. John Jaha hit his 2nd homer in as many days for the Brewers. Milwaukee hosts Pittsburgh tomorrow. Superstock driver Darren Murato of Bayfield is $1,000 richer tonight after his victory at the Hibbing Raceway last night. Murato was able to hold off John Remington of White Bear Lake and Todd Lopak of Buell for 30 laps. More than 50 Superstock drivers waited out rain showers to take part in the event. In the street stock class, Randy Thomas of Virginia took home the checkered flag. The U.S. Open gets underway tomorrow at the Olympic Club in San Francisco, but it may be without the defending champion. South African Ernie Els remains a question mark. Els had to withdraw from last week's Buick Classic because of lower back pain and says he can't practice as much as he'd like. He's working with a back therapist and said he's still day to day. Well, aren't we all? A final note tonight about the NBA Finals. Sunday night's Game 6 on NBC was the highest rated game in history. The high viewer turnout may be attributed to the fact that it could have been Michael Jordan's last game. NBC estimates a record 72 million viewers tuned in to watch as the Bulls beat the Jazz and capture their 6th title in 8 years.
And a great game it was. We all watched.
You were tuned in. One of 72 million.
Count on it. Listening the whole time. Back in a minute.
I like my Cavalier. I feel smart in it. I like the way it looks and the way it handles. It's easy to own. It has a lot of room, so I can haul all the stuff, and I can haul the kids, and I can haul everything I need to. It's a wonderful car.
Now get 1.9 financing on Chevy Cavalier, or lease one with Air for just $199 a month at your Chevrolet dealer.
You gotta buy one. It's a nice car.
We're talking Chevrolet.
A lot of us have babies of our own. So when a little girl in our community needed special help, our store raised money for the Children's Miracle Network, who helped make it possible for Taylor to walk. And she decided to thank us by doing her therapy in our store, where her grandfather brought her every day. Every year we raise money all over the country for kids like Taylor, so we can watch these little miracles grow up all around us, because we live here too, and we believe good works.
It's the first annual John Deere Lawn and Landscaping Expo at Minnesota Outdoor Recreation, Friday, June 19th. From landscaping design to mowing, experts from local businesses are on hand to answer questions on lawn care, maintenance, and planting. Test drive John Deere tractors, walk behind mowers, see displays, get great ideas. Now is the time, with Father's Day coming, to take advantage of all John Deere season rebates. All day Friday at Minnesota Outdoor Recreation.
Even though Dodge Ram is the bright red gold standard of pickup trucks, we're always improving things. We've made our available Magnum V8s even more powerful. We've improved the already world-class interior. In all, we've made 130 improvements to the Ram lineup since introduction, including this one, our new flow-through ventilation system. New Ram Quad Cab. Now eligible Dodge and competitive owners get up to $1,000 cash back on select Rams.
15 years ago, a big wheel came to town.
Hey, that was great. Can I get a deal on 1,000 of them?
Let's try out the jet skis tomorrow.
Wheel of Fortune, bigger cash and prizes. Take a spin.
Thanks for joining us. Justin Aker will be back with Top Line News at 10.
Men's wardrobe provided by Mainstream Fashions for Men, located in the heart of downtown Duluth.